We usually think of joy as a reflex, a spontaneous, involuntary reaction to good news or pleasant circumstances. You can't force someone to be happy. But in the book of Leviticus, God gives the Israelites a strict, non-negotiable mandate. During the Feast of Tabernacles, they are commanded to rejoice. The timing makes this instruction even stranger. This festival lands exactly 5 days after the Day of Atonement, the most somber day of the ancient calendar, defined by fasting, weeping, and national mourning. And the physical requirement for this celebration defies all logic of comfort. Citizens must abandon their secure, permanent homes to live outdoors in Sukkot, temporary, flimsy shelters made from woven branches and fabric, for an entire week. How does forced displacement into a vulnerable twig hut guarantee an objective state of genuine joy? The answer starts with the calendar. Tabernacles occurs at the absolute end of the agricultural cycle. The spring barley is in, the summer wheat is gathered, and the final fruits and olives are collected. The barns are completely full. With that abundance comes a specific psychological danger. A farmer looks at a year's worth of food, forgets the rain and the sun, and credits his own back-breaking labor for his survival. Pride quietly replaces gratitude. Relocating to a temporary booth physically interrupts that complacency. It strips away the illusion of self-sufficiency. Sitting under a roof of loose branches, exposed to the wind and the cold, forces a visceral recognition. The farmer realizes that solid walls don't actually grow crops. He is entirely dependent on a provider for every drop of rain and every hour of sunlight. We see echoes of this harsh clarity in modern history. During the Great Depression, extreme deprivation forced people into a state of total reliance. Many who lived through those years later reported experiencing the deepest, most refined faith of their lives because the facade of independence was gone. Gratitude becomes the foundation for joy only when we recognize our dependence on a provider. The booths serve another precise function: historical memory. They force settled citizens to remember the 40 years their ancestors spent wandering as nomads in the wilderness after fleeing Egypt. Sitting in a structure that could blow over in a strong gust recalibrates a person's identity. It reminds them that they are pilgrims passing through, and that any sense of permanent earthly security is a mirage. This recalibrated identity comes with a communal requirement. The law explicitly commands that the celebration must include everyone: family members, indentured servants, widows, orphans, and foreigners living in the land. Dissolving these boundaries ensures that joy cannot be hoarded. It transforms the feast from a private luxury into a shared necessity. When this pilgrim mindset is fully embraced, it overrides even the most horrific circumstances. Corrie ten Boom, imprisoned in a World War II concentration camp, maintained a constant attitude of thanksgiving, even for the fleas in her barracks. Her joy was entirely disconnected from physical comfort. It was rooted in a trust in divine sovereignty that transcended the barbed wire and the guards. To experience this kind of joy, a person must adopt the identity of a pilgrim. They must hold earthly comforts loosely, while tightly embracing communal generosity and the providence of God. But the architecture of the feast points to something even larger. The Hebrew concept at the center of this festival is shakan, which means to settle down, to abide, or to dwell. Israel rejoiced because the creator of the universe chose to dwell with them in the dirt and dust of the wilderness. This timeline illustrates how ancient dwelling finds New Testament fulfillment. John describes Jesus taking on flesh to tabernacle among humanity. This architecture shifted after his ascension. The presence that filled a central tent moved into individuals through the Holy Spirit. This turns every believer into a living sanctuary. There is no longer a need for a physical branch booth because the shakan, the indwelling, travels wherever the person goes. And the book of Revelation outlines the final eternal fulfillment of this pattern, the New Jerusalem. There, the barrier between heaven and earth is entirely destroyed, and God tabernacles with humanity permanently, putting a final end to pain, mourning, and death. Biblical joy can be commanded because it is an objective perspective, not a fleeting mood. We can choose to rejoice today because we know this world is a temporary booth, and we are pilgrims walking toward an eternal city where God himself will dwell with us.